Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I am so delighted we're spending this time here today. We have an amazing show lined up. Our first guest is Christina Hill, and she's here today to talk to us about advice from an angel. Now, Christina channels Athela, which is an angel that she's been connected with. So I'm so looking forward to hearing about her journey and having her share her gift with us. So welcome to the show, Christina.
Thank you, Marianne. Gosh, it's a blessing to be here and a blessing to be speaking with you today on such a wonderful, much needed topic. I think is just working and channeling is one word we use, but really working with the energy that is around us all the time.
Oh my goodness. Well, and so I know that you channel a specific angel. Who would that be?
Yes. My angel, she's a guide. She prefers the term angel because she says that human minds, they need labels, right? And the label angel is a very soft systems label. It's something that a lot of people have, good, fuzzy, warm feeling association tied to it, and powerful association at that. So she prefers to be called an angel. My guide's name is Athela, and I met Athela back in 2015 while I was in a deep meditation, and quite unbeknownst to me, I had really no idea whatsoever what channeling was, and if someone would have told me back then that I would be doing this, I would have gone, there's just no way. So it was a surprise to me meeting her, and she is an angel. She works through my body. She speaks through my body. She uses my vocal cords, although she has a very distinct voice of her own. So it's not my voice you're hearing when you're working with Athela, it's her voice. And we travel around the world, and she presents herself to those who are open, to those who are ready for her messages, who are wanting guidance, support, and healing. And she does heal. She heals people on so many levels. So she's with us now. She's let me know, though, and in short interviews especially, that only when she gives me the green light, the go-ahead, that she's to speak. So for this interview, she may or may not join us, and I just want to prepare everyone listening that may be the case. But at any rate, like with all energy, she's everywhere. For all intents and purposes, you can think of her as being, in the ether, as it were. So angels, they're among us, just like the energy, just like the air we're breathing. Oxygen is everywhere. So, yeah, so that's kind of an introduction on Athela.
Well, and so in working with Athela, I know you said your life took this turn. Did you know what channeling was at the time, or is it just like, it was something new, or you knew what it was, you're like, I'm not going to do that, and it just kept pushing?
Right. Actually, it did. That's you're spot on there, Marianne, because prior to 2015 was the time, and I had I even down to the day where I met Athela. I'd never even heard that word, by the way, before, Athela. Mm-hmm. That was something new to me as well. It's like, who is this? And this is her name, and suddenly I'm channeling. So no, I had no idea what channeling was. But what I did know was prior to 2015, it was in 2009, I had what I could best describe as just an all-time classic, all-encompassing breakdown of all different sorts. Mm-hmm. And my life had just kind of come to the total collapse. And I think most people, when they identify with getting down to the bottom or to the very, very last rung, you're really down there, and things, life is just falling apart. And I experienced that to the point where I wasn't really functional at that point. In 2009, I was given this teacher, the suffering being the teacher, and I was suffering quite deeply. And I was told I didn't know who these beings were, but I knew that something was happening to me. Something was happening, and my body was trembling, and I would have these openings, right? I would have these moments of complete clarity, and I could hear and I could receive some messages, but I was like, no, I'm just going plain nuts. That's what's happening. I'm hearing things now. I'm seeing things. I'm being told this is my quote unquote psychic death, if you will, or the death of the old self to make way for something new. And gosh, I had no idea, no clue what that meant or any of it. So one thing I will say, though, in 2009, something very poignant started to happen was that I felt something coming into my throat. I felt like there was some kind of pressure or a squeeze, and it started mounting from there. Through the years, I'd seen various different professionals trying to get some spiritual help, like what's going. As soon as I would relax, especially in my meditations, I noticed like this urge, like something was just frothing there, and I really didn't know what it was. In 2015, I had a very definitive, very much out of nowhere, a case of strep throat. And a very, very dear spiritual mentor of mine came to me at that point and said, look, this is a critical moment for you, and I do believe it's my responsibility to say to you, maybe there's something that you need to say. Maybe there's something in there that's locked in there that needs to be released. And at that point, Marianne, I went and I said, okay, I'm a hypnotherapist. At that point, I had studied hypnosis, and I was well on my way to becoming a spiritual coach and doing other things. And I thought, I'm going to, for one time, I'm going to try a past life regression, a deep meditation, unlike anything I've ever tried. And it was then that I was on my couch, and I was with a very, very wonderful woman. She has her practice out of Canada, and all she does is past life regressions. And so we went into it, and as soon as we did, that place in my throat, that urge, it came open. Like the floodgates came open, and there was Othello. And then it was a release. And ever since then, a voice that's not mine has been communicating with other people's guides. And Othello has, really, all of it's taken off. Othello has become the CEO, the director of the organization that I head up now, which is Othello.org. And we travel around the world. We work with people from all different backgrounds. And she is able to speak through me using an ancient technique called channeling. But the quick answer to your question, though, is no, I had no idea what this channeling stuff was. Like, it just seemed weird. I mean, really, for the first year, I was in practice and was really under the, I was being educated by Othello and a few others on how to do this, like how to sit still, how to be a clear, clean conduit for this work. I couldn't even look at myself in the videos because I was like, this is too weird. This is bizarre even for me, and so, but what I had to go on was this, and it's really indescribable, was this unbelievable, indescribable, incomprehensible peace that would take over, and then, letting Othello take the lead. And so there's nothing for me to do at that point. And her instruction has been fantastic because it's the most relaxing thing to do. And then it's my understanding that we are able as humans to cultivate our own channeling capability. And we do that with practice and with some of the other things, and I'm sure we'll get into this, Marianne, in a few moments, is some of the other things that can be done to clean ourselves out, to really replenish and get to our most natural state, to create the environment for channeling to happen. Because a lot of us, we run around and we're high on caffeine, or we're dancing around, we're multitasking. There's no such thing as monotasking anymore, it seems. And we got a lot of noise in our ears. We have kiddos running around, and there's so much going on at just wickedly fast. And so the mind, rarely do we give ourselves the opportunity for the thinking mind to come to a halt and to provide that experience for ourselves.
Well, and I think it's always good to hear how someone's story is, especially when they get started on such a profound journey like this, where they're working with a divine entity and bringing messages and healing and other information here. Because, I mean, a lot of times we all do have such humble beginnings. I know when I started my spiritual journey and started seeing and hearing stuff, it's like, oh gosh, I'm going to need a padded room pretty soon. This is just horrible. And I think a lot of people can kind of relate to that. If you don't have guidance or someone there, you're kind of trying to figure it out, and going by today's standards, you probably think, oh gosh, I really do need a room with lots of padding, So, but it's, I have heard I've heard not all, but a few of the videos with Athela and the two of you working together, and can kind of see that happen. So when you do the channeling and she comes in and she's, basically she's driving the bus, she's taking over the body, she's using your body as the means to communicate and heal. From a spiritual level, are you still there? Do you just go sit on a park bench somewhere? How does that feel to you?
I love it. That is so funny. Athela, we've got this down now to a fine art and science. Athela, in the beginning, she said, look, this is going to seem weird. It's going to feel weird, and it's going to feel foreign. Foreign vibration is up and coming for you. And so we're just going to practice little by little. But yes, to make it very clear for people, I don't have recall at this point of what happens while we're doing our sessions. When she comes through, it is very much like parking the bus. And I will also say that it's not just at a throwaway, it's not like at an expense of my body. There's always that check-in. There's always that, how is Chris today in this moment? Are you ready? Are we ready to go? Or, all systems are a go. And very much like a pilot, let's just go with that example. That's a great example. So there's like triple contingency. And she's scanning my body before we begin and checking the environment and also the guides of the perspective people that we will be interchanging with. And she'll be exchanging energy with and working with also on their end. There's a check-in there. And then to park my mind body, as it were, to come to a place where it's more like the parking is more like patiently sitting aside, rather and sitting in peace. I should say that too. I've never sneezed in session while working with Athela. I've never coughed. There's never been a moment where I've had to go to the bathroom. She actually puts my body, and she's told me this, on a cellular level, there's a holding position. It's like a holding posture. And so I feel very cradled and held, but I am sitting aside. And so someone once told me, this is like sleeping for you. No, it's really not. It requires alertness and presence without thinking. So there's no thought on my part at all, none at all, which is great. So here we go with the pilot's example. There's triple contingency. There's also this check-in, and then Athela, she likes to work. She does her work. She gets there. We do what we have to do. We fulfill the purpose, and then much of her work, whether it's nonverbal or verbal, it goes through me. It passes through me. But there's this safety, right? There's this sanctuary within. And so during the work, though, for me, it feels great. I feel refreshed. I come back to my normal waking state. It varies, really. It depends on who we're working with and the people that are in attendance and all that energy there. But generally speaking, it's just very lightweight. It's light as a feather, and I feel I feel like service has been conducted, and like this sense of relief and accomplishment for being the conduit, being the vessel, and praise be. And it's like, okay, to hear what's happened though, I will quite literally, I have a team that works with me, and we'll go through the footage if it's something we filmed or the recording, so that I can hear it. But Othello tells me that the reason why the no recall, I've had clients ask me, well, why is that? Why can't you be privy to everything that is being shared? Is actually done for my benefit. The slate being wiped clean, there's no need for me to carry any of that.
Yeah.
But she says to me, hey, if you want to go back, curious minds, the way human minds are, we have questions, of course. We want information. So if I want to, we can just go back and we can review someone's recording or the event. We can look at the video. But by and large, I think that Othello has it right. I don't need to carry all that. I don't need to experience or relive, particularly if we're going through someone's death experience in a former lifetime, or something that's quite violent that is happening in their physical body temple at the moment, that I don't need to take that trip right there throughout my whole body with them. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. I would think it would be a little bit easier not to, from a mind standpoint, try to carry somebody else's stuff, because sometimes we're like, oh, well, let's help them, and not let it happen at the energetic level,
Sure. Yes. And for you, Marianne, I'm just curious, when you had mentioned earlier about your spiritual awakening and your hearing, feeling, perceiving, how do you experience that in your body? What's that like for you? Because I'm sure that you talked about that a lot on your shows, but for me, from my standpoint, it's very different. It's so interesting to hear other people's experiences.
Oh yeah. You know what? I've actually seen energy and angels since I was a kid. And then I kind of turned that off with some very well-meaning parental advice. And and then and then that opened up again later. And when it was like everything. So I could see it just depends. I have this knowing, I can see energy. I hear stuff sometimes. It just depends on what's going on. Sometimes it's on demand, and sometimes because I have to keep my feet very well grounded in this world as well. Sometimes it's something that just kind of pops up, and it's quite interesting. But when I actually had a friend of mine, he prayed over me, and it was just kind of he's like, I feel like I really need to pray over you. And he did that. And the energy was flowing from me for about 2 days. I couldn't sleep. It was a really intense, but not a bad feeling, but it was really different. So it was it was definitely a journey. But it was funny when you were talking, and I could feel energy too. So when you were talking, in regards to how you guys work together and how she'll go ahead and scan, before you guys get started, I could feel her scanning.
Scanning. These scanners, they're so great.
And like,
the angelic scanners.
Yeah,
feel scanned now.
I
laugh.
Yeah, well, I almost stopped you there. I'm like, I'm going to catch her back on the other end on this one, because you could feel the energy, and it's like a shift in energy, So that was actually quite interesting. So when you're working with people, I know you do sessions with people, but do you also do workshops where you help people connect with their guides and give them like a how-to?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, that is really our mainstay, and the goal of all of this. Right now, we're in a Latin American tour. I should kind of back it up. We're actually in a Latin American tour right now. We are in Cancun and Playa del Carmen and Mérida at this point, offering events throughout Latin America. And so these live events, you can come. They're literally public sessions that are designed for people to just arrive on the scene. You can sit. You can be in Othello's, Othello's everywhere anyway, but let's just say for human mind purposes, you can sit closer to and close proximity to Othello and all that she does. You'll even get an opportunity to come up to the mic and sit with her and talk about, we really go with the flow here, so people will approach her with all kinds of different things. We had an epidemiologist come to her most recently who left a beautiful testimonial about how she can better engage with her clients and in the lab, working with other colleagues, creative solution finding, and really how to integrate something of another dimension, really, is what we're talking about here, into the world of science as we know it right now. So that was that was just an extremely opening conversation, and for me, fascinating to see on the after side of that. I reviewed it and I thought, wow, that's just something. So that's one thing that we do. But for the retreats, that's really our mainstay, is getting people to come to a place where the mind can be quiet long enough. We will provide an opportunity for the mind to get away from, quote unquote, it all, long enough for you to learn these techniques, basically learning everything that I had to learn through, I would call it the hard way. It's a 3-day retreat. We offer these all over. Right now, as I say, we're focused in Latin America, but we do have retreats ongoing in the United States, in New York, Los Angeles. Most recently, we did Hawaii and Seattle. So look on the website, Othello.org. This retreat, I just want to preface this with, retreat is a word that we have created to give ourselves permission to come into a place where we feel it is okay to let the phone go and let go of the electronics and simply be. But retreat is actually non-existent, and Othello makes this point very clear. So when you come to retreat, the idea is that you will learn skills that will last you a lifetime. You will learn about how to get quiet and maintain this continuity of quiet. And getting quiet, by the way, is the best, as you know, Marianne, it's the best way to connect most efficiently to all that is, or to source, or call it angels, or there's many different titles that we use for these things, but that's the best way, is to learn how to be still, stillness, presence. And so we do that. And then the retreats, unlike many retreats, where they have a preset agenda, we only take 4 participants per retreat because it's so intense. You actually live with us on site. You eat the way that we do. Othello has a prescribed way of eating, body movements, or movements that you enjoy as opposed to exercise. Those are 2 very different things. And then there's sitting and walking meditation, and you learn about, really what it is you learn about you. You learn about who you really are. And we go through some of her materials, of course, but we let the participants arrive with their own backpack of stuff. I've got this. I need to know what to do with career. I'm going through a divorce, or I'm suffering. This is happening in my body. Whatever it may be, we allow the participant to approach Othello and their guides with what is, and from there, the inner transformation. It's a metamorphosis process, and it quite literally is that. So that's really where if we want to call it teaching, although I'd much rather prefer a different word, but right now it's not coming to me. But if you want to call it teaching, that's really where it's at. I would highly recommend anyone who's interested in living a life with their guides, not just when things go wrong, but when things go right, and all the time, being very connected, no matter who you are or where you come from. If you are interested in that, I would sincerely encourage you to just check out the website, see if it appeals to you, and look at the retreats, because that's really an opportunity to have that continued connection with Athela, and Athela is an ascended, she's identified herself as an ascended master. So that energy, it's not just a one-time injection. It's actually, it's something you get plugged into. It's irreversible at that point, and then you're able to learn these techniques, which you will learn in retreat, of how to stay in connection, how to stay in connection with yourself, in relationships, and relationship to your spiritual guidance, and to Athela even. And it's just a wonderful opportunity for learning how to live, as she calls it, as an upgraded human, because that's really what we're doing anyway. We're moving into the fifth dimension already. We're shifting. Everybody knows it. We feel it, and there's different labels for it, but we know things are changing. So I just tell people what Athela says, which is, maybe this isn't for everyone, but if it's for you, if it speaks to you, then pursue it, and really follow through with it. And if it's not, if Athela's work doesn't resonate on some level for you, then seek what does, and do it right now. The urgency is already upon us. So it's athela.org, and you can see her. You can see her work with other individuals. We've been very blessed and graced by some of our clients who've allowed us to share their journey with Athela. And yes, our retreats, we're filling those up very quickly. And you can also, if you want something, you feel like, okay, this is for me, I need something immediate, I'd really like to give this a go, you can also book something online. We have Skype sessions that we do, and those are fantastic if you find yourself busy in your world and you just want to kind of dive right in through the medium of the computer.
Well, and I know Athela talks about the balance of spirituality and the physical self. Do you want to expand on that a little bit?
Oh my gosh. This is where, it's like, how much time do we have? Yeah, because I could really go on and on and love this topic, Marianne. But just really briefly, so we are light beings. I know these are just words. And when I first heard that, I was like, yeah, come on. I mean, I watched The Secret. I know what you're talking about. Light beings. I get it. What else? The mind is hungry. Like, we want to know more. But actually, that is very sufficient and succinct. If you can fully realize and accept that you are a light being, then your world will change. And how you see yourself in relationship to yourself will change too. I'll give you an example. So I've worked with a client who had some trembling on the right side, and he went to see many doctors, and for no reason at all did he have this trembling, other than they were telling him it was something psychological. He started his work with Athela, and she had suggested that he look at different kaleidoscopes, different sacred geometric shapes through his eyes, just looking at different shapes. Mm-hmm. And she pointed out which specific ones those could be. And a bunch of other things, like adopting a vegan diet, and meditation, and some Tai Chi and some other things. So he very rapidly was able to manifest a body that did not tremble on the right side. That's one example. We are actually in control of our bodies. Our bodies are the temporary shell, and we are not intended to suffer while we're here. We're actually, these bodies are given to us like the vehicle, so that we can drive, we can let the windows down, and we can enjoy, and we can go somewhere too. We can actually achieve things, and we're here to achieve stuff to our heart's content. When it's time, when our purpose has been fulfilled, then it's time to eject or get out of the car and exit the body. And that's natural too. I helped a lot of people. When I was a kid, I did this. So Marianne, you and I, our stories are kind of tied here, because I helped a lot of people when I was a kid through their transition. Mm-hmm. I had no idea that I would see their bodies leaving. I would see their soul bodies leaving their physical bodies. And there's some confusion there, and I would help them because I knew what was happening. And I was there. I was present. I was a witness for it. So when our bodies we're done with the shell, then our soul body will eject from the body, and that's okay. And there's a lot of fear about this, about the death and dying process. So I want to just share that too, is like, we're light beings. We're not the body. You just live in a body for a while and take good care of it, and you can go have fun. You can achieve stuff while you're here, be of service if you want. You can be in a monastery too if you want. Or, and you can also choose, we can also choose to experience our bodies in a more uncomfortable way, but that's something we can choose. We have the choice. And so if you're listening to this out there, if you're experiencing pain body, you're experiencing your body, there's discomfort or there's dis-ease, as they call it, dis-ease in the body, just know that there is the opposite of that. Also, you can manifest and create health. You can put yourself in the health vibration. You can actually do it right now. And that's where, that's a fella is one such person, such being that helps with this. But there are so many, and find what frequency or what angel works for you. And if you so desire it, you can manifest perfect health. And so that's what I would speak to for that, is just keep saying it to yourself too. Flood your being with these statements of health, abundance. I am a light being, because that's the truth. This is the truth.
I think it's encouraging for people to hear that kind of information. It's just kind of a reminder. We've all, like you said, have heard it before, but until you're actually living it, it's just, a lot of times it could just be taglines that we all are used to hearing.
Oh, completely. I love that energy right there, Marianne, is kind of like, we've all heard it before. Mm-hmm. What's the difference between just, the eyes are just gazing on these little statements on Facebook, or, have a happy day, or live in the moment, and some of it can seem fake and empty. And it's like, I really, really, I want to say this. I walk in the truth of this, and I have many friends, colleagues, people I know who do the same, and you can too. Everyone can, and it can be genuine and authentic, and you can live that. You can. So what's the difference? I think it's the decision. Every person can decide then that they're going to begin to live these words. They're actually going to integrate them into the cells of their body. I think these opportunities to sit with people, Marianne, are teaching opportunities where I think Othello speaks in her own way. She speaks through my body, of course, but I feel like she's dinging me right now to say this is one quick way to integrate the ideas and concepts of I'm a light being, I am the health and wealth of the universe. Things like this is to write, is to use your physical body to actually write these things down. And when we do that, it actually creates a vibration in your body. So if you're crossing over a bridge, you're in the middle and you're trying to really implement these things, I would encourage people to write. Writing it down creates the vibration in the body. One thing too is repetition. So we as humans, we need constant reminders. So again, if you feel like you're feeling called and your vibration needs to be revamped, you need more energy, you need more assistance or support, we're now entering into a time where there are so many leaders and people who are of service, and they're very authentic in what they provide. So I would say, seek out those opportunities and continue to hear the voice. If it's Othello, go on our website, and she has many free products. We have many free products where you can just literally hear her voice, as in like a meditation, a guided meditation, or a video. each time you do that, you're putting yourself in that sacred space, and it washes the body. It physically, it heals you, it maintains you and sustains you. So at any opportunity to do this on a repetitive basis, that's really going to stick. And I think that's really where I think people would really benefit from retreat and from listening to programs like this, Marianne, because you can listen to them again and again and again, and then it becomes your lifestyle, so to speak. Then it becomes, it would be bizarre to live any other way, and your frequency changes, your vibration changes.
Yeah, it's definitely getting yourself out there, finding more information, connecting to like-minded individuals, and continuing your spiritual journey and exploration. It's, to always question and always go out there and look for more.
Yes. And if it feels like light and truth, then that's a really good cue. Then sort of lean into that, roll into that, and you'll know it because your body will feel it. You'll feel it in your body. Very much the way that, Marianne, when I met Othello, it was like you had said, there was, when your friend had prayed over you, there was a prolonged period of time where you felt that. It's like, that energy is like a pulse and light, and it's coursing through you. That's how you know you've found where you should be, is your body will tell you, and you'll feel that light, and it will stay with you. And whatever that happens to be, and it could be blowing bubbles out on the beach. It could be sitting with your dog. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be one thing. It could be all these things. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think we have just a few minutes, so I thought I would check in, and if Othello is going to say anything, now would be the time. And if she's not feeling it, then we can always just kind of connect at a later date and see if there's anything she would like to share.
Give me a moment, Marianne. I'm going to access Othello, and I think that she would have some beautiful words of wisdom. She always does. So give me just one moment. And sure. For your listeners, this will involve a few moments, or sometimes it's only a few seconds, of silence, which in its own right is quite beautiful and releasing. So here we go. Thank you, Marianne.
Thank you.
For the humans who wish to cultivate more peace, more gentleness, remember to look upward. Your body is designed to do this. Take your eyes, let them coast, and look upward. There you will find sun or moon. Elements are around you, available to you. That is enough to stir and create peace for the inner and outer body. No need to think. Human minds believe it takes a lot of time or work to establish this peace. It does not. Just by hearing the tone, the musicality of my voice, you can enter into a restful pause, taking a break from the world very quickly, little effort. So lift the eyes and eyebrows whenever you need a boost. Notice what's up there. Leave the thought world and you will feel the peace. And I love you. Thank you, Marianne.
Oh, thank you, Christina. And Thank you for sharing your gift with us and taking this time, and what a beautiful message that was.
I appreciate this opportunity. I appreciate the open space. Really, the open space is what, for me, it's different. It's so different having a radio show where you provide the opportunity for this to come forward so that people can hear it and they can also be a part of it. When you listen to something, you can participate in it. So I'm very thankful for the opportunity, and I think Othella, she's such a sweet being and very compassionate. So I do believe that people feel that compassion and that all-encompassing love. So I feel very humbled. Every time I work with Othella, I just kind of have to be in awe.
I can understand why. Well, Christina and Othella, thank you both so much for taking the time to be on the show with us today. And we would just really appreciate you spending the time with us here.
Thank you so much, Marianne. It's my pleasure. And again, people listening you can really align your heart, your mind with Othella's work at othella.org, or you can simply be curious and look. There's plenty of free products there as well. But really, my call here is to be of service to Othella's work, and she has some pretty amazing stuff there to share. So for anyone who's looking, check it out, definitely. And thank you once again, Marianne. It's been just a delight. Thank you.
Oh, it's been just such a pleasure. We are going to pause here for a quick break, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
Have you ever had the sense that your thoughts might actually be doing something? Ancient secrets of manifesting have been masterfully revealed in the award-winning book Manifesting 1-2-3 by Ken Elliott. For the first time, the author's experiences and stories in this book describe exactly how your thoughts can create anything. You've been doing this all your life, but it's never been fully explained for you until now. Visit manifesting123.com for more information today. Manifesting123.com.
Ben Wexler is a gifted leadership development and strategy consultant for professionals who want to transform their organizations and careers. Through a uniquely personalized set of processes, participants discover their unique knowledge, how to leverage that knowledge and experience, and then put it all together with a global strategy. You're more valuable, your organization is more valuable, and the change is viral. Contact Ben at 630-881-1074. 630-881-1074.
This is Jennifer McGill. My highly anticipated new album, Unbreakable, is now available at jennifermcgill.com. Everything from power ballads to high-energy jam-out-in-your-car songs. I used my highest joys and deepest pains to create empowering songs of love, strength, healing, and restoration so that you can be unbreakable too. Get your copy of Unbreakable today from jennifermcgill.com. Because who doesn't want to be unbreakable?
Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so excited to be introducing our next guest. She's a very well-known author, Kristy Robinett, and she's here today to talk to us about her new book, Messages from a Wonderful Afterlife. So welcome to the show, Kristy.
Thanks so much for having me.
What a joy it is to have you here. Now, you've been a writer for some time.
I have been writing ever since I've been able to pick up a pen. So that's a long time. But I was first published in 17 magazine. I don't know if anyone remembers that old magazine. I used to write poetry for them, and that's sort of where it began. And here I am, just a blink and an eye, after that. Just a couple years later.
So you've been being able to communicate with spirit since you were a toddler.
Yeah, I was 3 years old when I remember my first encounter with spirit. And to me, still today, they look physical. So I see them just like you and I, flesh and blood. And it was kind of scary, especially when my whole family was trying to tell me that wasn't normal and they weren't seeing them too. Mm-hmm. But thankfully, it did not go away. And I still see spirits today. I finally have sort of embraced that after college and one disastrous marriage with someone that didn't believe in me or what I could see or do. And two beautiful kids and corporate world and all of that fun stuff. And then I ended up quitting my job when the economy was the worst of the worst. I took that leap of faith and opened up my own practice and started writing books.
Well, I think during that time, because 2007 and 8 and all that was just awful. It was
terrible.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. And I'm sure people needed more encouragement during that time than ever before.
And I think so too. I had mostly everyone telling me that I was crazy, and I wasn't feeling like I was crazy. I'm crazy in a lot of ways, but I wasn't feeling crazy in that moment. But it ended up being the best thing. And it's true. Ironically, I'm in the Motor City, so I'm in the Detroit, Michigan area. And so my clientele was mostly men at that time because it was those that, had jobs on the assembly line that were like, are we going to have a job next week? And does dad on the other side have any advice for me? Or should I go back to school? So my corporate background was HR and life coaching. I was a certified life coach in the corporate realm. And it just, I didn't tell them that grandma and grandpa on the other side was actually giving me the information, but I could finally do that in my office sense. And so it was really nice to be able to give hope when it was feeling like a hopeless situation at that time.
Yeah, I'm sure with everything going on and people just having to be able to, just trying to reach out and get some hope and guidance going forward, because it was pretty brutal during that time.
It was, yeah. And I still see, there's still residue from that, especially from the financial sector of a lot of people. We're not getting, I know this now it's business with us here, business dealings, but we're not seeing everyone earning as much, and we don't get the pensions and, health benefits and all that stuff. So I think that we still are always going to need a little bit of hope. And I try to give honest hope, instead of pipe dream hope. When I do any of my sessions, and it's not brutal, but it's realistic. And I think that's something that we all need, every so often is a cheerleader that's going to actually tell you, and I love that we have them on the other side too, but a cheerleader that's going to tell you the way that it is, not the way that you want it to be.
Yeah. So your book, Messages from a Wonderful Afterlife, where did that inspiration come from to create this book?
So my first book with Llewellyn was Messenger Between Worlds, and then the second, and Messenger Between Worlds is a lot like my story. It's kind of my memoir. And then It's a Wonderful Afterlife was penned to help other people during that economic, time, because not everybody could afford to go to a psychic. That's a leisurely thing. to a lot of people. So I wanted to write a book to help them connect with their loved ones and learn how to meditate and learn the different signs. And Messages from a Wonderful Afterlife was really the remnants from It's a Wonderful Afterlife, because I had so many stories and so much in that Llewellyn's like, okay, you got to cut this down, Kristy. We gotta, we can't do volumes, encyclopedia of the afterlife. So it's they've had it for several years. So let's just say that. And I actually think it's better than It's a Wonderful Afterlife. There's more stories. There's more stories about even pets on the other side, and there's more stories about babies on the other side and what happens, through their transitions and how they can communicate with us.
Well, I think that provides a lot of hope, because unless someone's had that connection to the other side and being able to have that spirit communication and see, it can be a little scary.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we have all these paranormal shows on television and they look frightening. If you're contacting the other side, it's demonic. It's terrible. There's things coming out of your bed in your closet. And I'm like, nope, that's just dad on the other side. That's all that is. And so I try to put it into I used to call myself the abnormally normal psychic medium, because I was the mom next door. And mostly nobody ever knew what I did. I looked normal. Now that sounds stereotypical, but even today, we think of those that talk to the other side as the incense burning Stevie Nicks, flowing gown type of a person. And some days that's me, but most days it's not me. Most days I'm in a jeans and a t-shirt, but so I wanted to put it into not a foofy, new agey way. I wanted to put it into more of a normal. That sounds really terrible. The more that I'm talking myself into a grave right now, but I just didn't want it to come across as being so granola crunching, and that everyone has to do yoga in order to talk to their loved one on the other side. And gosh, that'd be terrible, right? Or the yoga studios would be filled. So,
well, I think that there's a certain amount of, it's nice to be able to communicate with the other side and have those connections, but, at the same time, it doesn't have to be a cookie cutter thing. It doesn't have to be people who are super woo woo and wearing tie dye,
Wait, you saw what my outfit for today was? What? It's fine.
You're like,
yeah, but it can be though, and that's what I love about this industry, is that it doesn't mean that you're getting a crappy reading from somebody who is wearing tie dye. It's just different.
Yeah.
So everyone has their own ability of that connection. It's like everyone's got a different telephone that they're using. Nobody has the same one to go to the other side, and it doesn't mean that what somebody else gives you is wrong. If somebody else gives you something else, it's just more. It's just a different vibration. Well,
and kind of what I do is that I take what someone gives me and I see how it resonates with me, and if it feels that it does, there's some truth to it, then I'm like, oh, okay, that's great. And if it doesn't, then it's like, kind of just throw that over my shoulder and keep going, So it allows people to kind of get the information and judge for themselves kind of what fits and what doesn't.
Yeah. And I always do say I won't make it fit. Because sometimes the information doesn't make any sense to me and it makes complete sense to them, or it has to take some time for them to make sense of it. You know, the other side doesn't necessarily have the calendar and the clock like we are so consumed with looking at. So we sometimes have this I can speak. I'm an English major too. I'm going to even word this wrong. We have it, this thought pattern that this is who's going to come through during a session, or this is who I want to be guiding me, or this is who I want to receive messages from, and this is what I want them to say. And then when you're not given that information, sometimes there's a letdown, but the information that you receive is the information you're supposed to receive at that time. And the person that comes through is supposed to be, and you probably know that too, is the person that's supposed to come through at that moment as well. And Messages from a Wonderful Afterlife kind of talks about that, because I've had people say, oh, well, I thought that Grandpa was sending me dimes. Is Grandpa sending me dimes? Well, if you think that Grandpa's sending you dimes, go with it.
Yeah.
Don't let anyone ever make you second guess it or say, no, Grandpa's not sending you dimes. That's just silly. That's probably Uncle Paul. And, you have to be your own best psychic. Whether you're doing it professionally or not, you are your own best psychic.
Yeah. And really gaining understanding of because you can really sit and go, okay, where is this information coming from? And regardless who says what,
Oh, right. Yeah. That's, I get one of the biggest questions, probably the number one questions that I receive, that I think I talk a little bit about it in this book, is our spirit guides. And I have a book called Forevermore, Guided in Spirit by Edgar Allan Poe with Llewellyn, and I talk more about guides in that book. But that's the number one question is, who is my guides? What are their names? And their guides look at me like, we don't care what they call us. It's not like that. This is our role. This is our job. If you want to call them something, I remember Sylvia Brown on Montel, people would go up, the mic and say, what is my guide's name? And she'd split second be like, he was King Harold. And I'm like, wait, what? And I'm like, maybe it is, but it's like, you don't even really, and you're a princess in a past life, and he was your wife, and he was your husband, and you had a big dog. And it was like, wait, what? But, it doesn't really, they don't really care. They just want you to know that you're being guided.
Yeah. Well, and you had quite a few chapters in your book that I really liked. And one of them was things not to say to someone who's grieving. I'd love for you to share that with our audience, because I think a lot of times when we know somebody who has someone that just passed and they're grieving, it's like, what do we even say to them?
Well, and that's just it, because we think that we're helping. Right. Mm-hmm. We think that we're helping, and we say the wrong things. And, I'm trying to get to my notes, so I'm stalling you for a second. Sorry.
Oh, no worries.
So can you tell the stalling part of this?
Well, and I would think it would take a little while just to come up with these things. It wouldn't be something that you'd always have just on hand, because you're so connected to the spirit world. And it's kind of a different conversation when you're talking to somebody who is going through the grieving process and perhaps is looking at more as someone's just going from one room to another. They're not really dead, So.
Well, yeah. So, one of the biggest things, and I don't even know if I have this in my book, but one of the things that I just recently experienced is someone had said that their best friend their mom had passed away, or their dad had passed away. And she goes, I know exactly how you feel. And she said, I am so hurt because she was so mad at me for saying that. She says, you don't know how I feel. You don't get it. And she's like, but I do, because I lost my dad too. And she goes, you don't understand. And that's actually one of the biggest pet peeves, I think, is, when we say, I know how you feel. Well, no, you don't. Everyone has an individual way of grieving, or like he or she is in a better place. Mm-hmm. And one thing when my mom passed away, I'd get, you're so strong. You've got it. You are so strong. No, I'm not. I don't feel so strong. I have to be so strong right now. Yeah. I have to do what I have to do. I'm going through the motions. And I think that we trivialize grief now. Mm-hmm. We don't have a whole lot of patience for grief, so that we give everyone 1, 2, 3 days, and then they're supposed to get over it, because we want them to be over it, because we don't want to handle their emotional, sensitivity anymore. So the narcissistic society that we are, that I don't think we want to be, but we are, we're like, you're okay now, right? Yeah. And when my mom passed away, my mom passed away about 11 years ago, 11, 12. And I'm the baby of the family, but I'm the one that takes care of everything. So I remember going to the funeral home, and I kept comparing it to a wedding. I had to choose her outfit and the music and the pamphlets, and I had to call people and invite them. And, you're in this and you're trying to be strong and you're feeling less than. And I didn't have a chance to grieve. My siblings got a chance to grieve because I took it from them, and my dad got a chance to grieve because I was doing everything, cleaning out the closets and the jewelry and all that. And it was a year later, I was like in the middle of a Kohl's, and I saw a shirt that looked like my mom's, and I had a breakdown. Like right there in the middle of Kohl's. And this lady looked at me, and I said, I lost my mom a while ago. And she's like, I get it. And she just held me. And I thought, that is what, as a society, we need to do. We might not understand it, and we might not know what they're going through or be able to compare, but to just give some empathy, some compassion to people is really what, even though we know they're in a better place, right? A lot of times people want to say that they are in a better place. They're living better than we're living, but that doesn't make us feel any better about it.
Well, and you know what? And I think a lot of times people are, just trying to make sense of it all. If they don't have that personal connection, to the other side, they're trying to gain an understanding and understand, like, okay, so how does this work? Or, maybe Uncle Louie was really like, no one liked Uncle Louie. He was like not a nice person. And maybe he's not going to a better place.
Right. You don't know. You don't know. I've recently seen in the news several articles that have popped up on people who have had like horrific fathers or mothers or what have you. And the obituaries are scathing, and they tell it like it is. It's not like, my mom is going to be so missed. It's like, mom is not going to be missed, and I hope she's learning her lessons on the other side. And I'm like, ooh, that's harsh. But I kind of like the honesty. Yeah. Because not everybody is a good person, and not everybody is going, like you said, is going to be in the better place, or at least be in that space, right when they cross over.
Well, and what's interesting, when that's, and I've seen those, I know what you're talking about. And so when that stuff happens, I think it's because the dead are the dead. I mean, they've moved on to that other room. They've moved on to another place, regardless where they may be there. And they have to atone for the things that they have done that are wrong, so it's not like they get a free pass. It's like, oh, everyone goes to heaven and has ice cream. It's not like that,
Gosh, I really wish it was, but it's not. Yeah, you're having cocktails with Hitler on the other side. Let's have tea. Yeah. Let's talk to Ted Bundy. That's so good.
Yeah, so I think that's part of like how you talk about the grieving process is when people are writing these scathing obituaries, it's because that's probably part of, maybe they haven't had the opportunity to really get this out, and this is their way of doing it.
Right.
I would probably, myself personally, I don't think I would do that.
I would never do it. No, I would never do it either. No.
We're not advocating that people start doing that as a healing process.
No.
But anyway, so I know that you're big, gosh, you're so good at being able to identify and discern signs from the other side and from our loved ones, the people who we actually do want to connect with. So what are some of these signs that they leave us?
Oh, gosh, they leave us sometimes the most simplest to the most crazy signs everywhere. We have the sign of scent. So we might be smelling perfume or cigarette or cigar smoke, food, even like their favorite foods that they might have cooked. We get spirit visitations. So sometimes everyone, we often think of dreams, just in the dream state, which it does come in the dream state, but they actually can sit on the bed or they can sit next to you in your chair or your couch and have that visit with you, where if you're just thinking of them, then you're probably being visited by them. They can manipulate electricity. Your light bulbs might pop. You might end up having, in fact, I have that in my office. I have a hard time keeping light bulbs, in stock in my office because they're constantly popping. Even like the LED that's like, they've got 12 years on these. I'm like, I've used it for 2 months.
Yeah, 3 weeks and there it goes.
Right. They will give you the sign of like coins, animals. They can delay you on different things. Like I had an interesting, right after my mom passed away, I wanted to go out and take pop cans back, return a bunch of pop cans, and the kids weren't home and my hubby wasn't home. And I thought, well, this is a good time just to sort of escape and get those errands done. And I got right to my car and my car locked. And I'm like, what? So I tried to unlock it and it locks, and it like did it 4 times before. I myself went, okay, this is a sign. This is a sign to not go out.
Yeah.
And we sometimes don't know why, but, they do try to protect us like that. Even traffic jams, or if someone cuts in front of you, instead of using a gesture, say thank you, because someone may be protecting you from an accident or something along that line. But they show us, gosh, so many different, our name can be called. We can hear knocking, wind chimes, bells ringing. Again, like I said, if people are like, I think that this is a sign from, this person, take it, don't doubt it. It's more than likely what it is. And if you're not getting your sign or you're like, maybe it was the robin, maybe it was that blue jay I saw a finch, maybe that was it. They're probably so frustrated with you that they're sending you a million different signs, hoping that you're just going to accept one as your sign.
Yeah, as a hummingbird's diving at you, right?
Exactly. Like, the squirrel is knocking on your patio door. You're like, I wonder if that's Grandma. Yeah, it is. It is.
Well, and it's interesting, like, even like animals in spirit will come to visit us.
Sure.
I had many years ago, this has actually been a while, but I went to bed and I could feel this little cat, and I didn't have a cat at that time, and I lived alone, and a dog. I still have a dog. And a cat hop on my bed. You could feel the hop, and you could feel it curl right next to me. And I looked down, and you could see the indentation of where it was laying down. I'm like, oh, okay.
That's crazy.
Visit. Yeah, so it was so pronounced. It was, it's like, oh.
No denying it.
No. And my dog is just like watching it.
I love that, but especially when it's so. I was staying at a hotel. This was years ago, and it was a sleepover. A bunch of girlfriends decided to book a room and kind of have a mom's night. And so some are on a cot and some are in the beds, and, we're kind of having this sleepover, 40, 50-year-old, women having a sleepover. And we're in the bed, and all of a sudden we felt this breeze come from the doorway, and I could see, but they could feel this black dog, like a black lab, and it jumped into the bed and the end of the bed, and you could see the indentation just like you said, and it laid there the entire night. Like you couldn't even put your feet on it because it was like you were in their way. You were in this dog's way. So we went to the front desk, and we're like, did you guys ever have a dog here? Because it was kind of a ritzy hotel. And they said, oh my gosh, yeah, we just lost our black lab, and he was sort of our mascot. Aww. And like 5 of us just stared at one another and said, well, he slept with us, in our room. And they didn't, it was amazing because it was an upscale, sort of a formal, very formal hotel. And they were thrilled. They were like, we are so excited to tell the owners that, their dog, I think the dog's name was Lucky, that Lucky was still, parading around the hotel and guarding the hotel. And so, yeah, I love those signs. And that's sort of like a piggyback sign, because I don't think that he was there for us, but he was definitely there for us to give that message to, the owners that, hey, he's around and she's probably trying to sleep with you guys. You can't find your room. I don't know what's going on. Not giving him enough room.
He wants to make sure that you guys get the message. So he's going to somebody who will see you.
Right. Yeah, exactly. They show us a lot of signs through numbers as well. So sequences, if you see 111 on the phone or your birthday, a lot of the times I love that too.
Yeah, I see my birthday a lot, and I'm like, I wonder if that's just an angel, because my family is pretty small, and there aren't a whole lot of people that have passed that I would connect with. I think they've actually kind of moved on and probably doing rodeo again, so I'm like,
I tend to interpret that's a celebration of who you are.
Oh,
so it's not necessarily your, for a sign per se, from a certain person. But so if you're seeing your birthday, I think that's the other side celebrating you.
Oh, so everyone out there, when you see your birthday, it's time to celebrate,
Birthday cake for everybody. Cupcakes.
Birthday cake for everybody. Yeah, because I see it a lot of times when I'm driving. Like I'll see that, 10/10's my birthday. And so I'll see that come up a lot. I'm like, okay. So
yeah, it's definitely a vibration, that sort of reaches across. Mine's 11/13, so I'll see that twice a day possibly, or I'll see 113, and that will catch a receipt. So you'll get a receipt and it'll have a sequence of numbers on it or a bank amount or something like that, and I always take that as just that sign from the other side as well. I think we try to overanalyze everything so much, and that's why, not that I'm dumbing it down, but I'm trying to make it so people
really simplistic.
Yeah. And they say, hey, I've had this happen, and then people start communicating and saying, wow, I've had that happen too, and I never really thought of it that way. And so I think that's what's amazing about us communicating about the other side. It's not such a hush-hush, type of it's not so scary. It's not supposed to be scary.
No. Well, and before, we've got a few minutes, and I do want to touch on this because I really liked how you had this all worded in your book, Messages from a Wonderful Afterlife, about how we all have gifts. And I think that's an important message and provides a lot of hope for people who are probably going, well, I never see anything or I never hear anything, so to at least have that confirmation. It's like, well, you have gifts, how would you suggest that they look to develop those?
Yeah, I always say I wish I was super special. I'm just not. We all are super special. We all get the psychic award. That's what it is. Taking classes and just being with like-minded people, I think, helped raise that vibration so that you can open yourself up. Practice is with anything, you have to work that muscle of connecting to the other side and keep doing that connection so that you have those signs and messages from the other side. That's, with anything, whether you're going to train for a marathon or you want to cook, while you have to practice. So I think that's probably the most important, and people get bored really easily. So, that's why they come see me. I'm the drive-through. You can cook a hamburger at home or you can go to a restaurant. I am McDonald's. So.
Well, it's nice to be able to get that inspiration and be able to develop these gifts yourself and then have some guidance and still be able to move forward. That's, so inspiring.
It's validation. I joke about that, but it's truly to have somebody, anybody, that works that muscle, frequently is obviously going to be, not the best, but better, at it. And that's why I wrote these books, though, because I didn't want anybody to think that there was like those people that could connect and those people that can't connect. It's everyone can swing a bat, just not everybody is going to be in the major leagues, and not everybody wants to be in the major leagues. No. So it's just practice.
Yeah. It's just like any athlete, you have to practice to be good at what it is that you want to do, So,
right.
So, well, Gosh, Kristy, we're having so much fun. I could talk to you for days. I mean, my goodness.
Thank you.
I didn't even get to hit half the questions here, but that's okay because, your book really does have a lot of great inspiration in it and it really answers all the questions I have. And so if people would like to get more information, they can go and purchase Messages from a Wonderful Afterlife on Amazon or any major retailer. And then where can people connect with you to be part of your community?
My website is KristyRobinett.com, and it has all of my events and my Facebook and all my social media on there. I'm pretty accessible on social, probably too accessible on social media, but I'm pretty, and I say that joking, tongue in cheek too, but I'm very accessible off of that. So KristyRobinett.com.
Oh, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne. And remember, make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Moments with Marianne airs every Thursday, Friday, and Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.